Hello, everyone. Welcome to the episode 86 of SoLeadSaturday. The guest we have today, Marco Silva. For the past 6 years, he has been part of the Microsoft Portuguese team, first as a consultant, architect, and digital advisor, and now as a cloud solution architect, working mainly in the telco and retail industries and building some of the coolest things for these customers. As cloud solution architect, his work consists of challenging his customers with new ideas and ways for them to take the most out of cloud technologies, which for him makes him one of the best jobs in the world. His academic background as an engineer specialized in artificial intelligence and computer graphics made him specially tailored to address digital challenges that his customers are facing in transforming their businesses by leveraging technologies such as data mining and machine learning, cognitive intelligence, and of course, mixed augmented and virtual reality. Advanced data mining and AI and data science project courses at the Data Science and Business Analytics postgraduate course at ISEG, a professional speaker with more than 10 years of experience speaking in different national and international events, and he is the president of non-profit organization called DICE Cultural, an association focused on creating more awareness around modern board games and a way for him to give back to the community and to a hobby he loves so much for both these topics, and he loves that he is the founder and the host of two podcasts, Building the Future AI Portugal Podcast and DICE Podcast. So yeah, the it seems like a quite a lot of things our guest does today. So let's just welcome him and hear more about his career journey. How did he find his area of interest and manage it to lead that? Hello, Marco. Very happy to have you on the show and really appreciate all your time and consideration being on the show.
Oh, thank you, Lisha, for the invitation and for this opportunity to share a little bit of about AI and to have this conversation with you about leadership. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so it is completely my honor and the pleasure. So thank you so much for your time. To begin with, we have our first general segment, which is more or like a passion or the interest. So, how did you find your interest in technology, especially the cloud computing? And what steps did you take to pursue your passion further or find that particular field in the particular technology as a career option?
Mhm. Well, I can tell you the story behind this. It's a very funny story. I started out. My mother's a dentist, and it's funny that I think she secretly always wanted me to be a dentist as well. I was her assistant for a long while when I was young, so I only knew this, but I always liked computers. And I remember this. I was very young and started programming in Spectrum and building computers at home and stuff like that. And then I think my mother realized that okay, maybe he's not going to be a doctor, maybe he's not going to go pursue this for her life, because I had like computers everywhere in my room. I was setting up all of those things when I was young. I figured out that I wanted to go into engineering very early, but I thought that I would be building games. I thought that I would be a game developer, and many of my friends, I was the only one that I knew that had this ambition. Many of my friends didn't have. Today, they're all, most of them, building games, and I'm in enterprise. So it's something went there that changed the way that my life went. But my passion for AI and computer graphics is something that came from the time that I was in university. I started teaching as an assistant when I was in university. So I went through engineering school, started teaching computer graphics, always thinking about maybe I'm gonna go into games. And then I found Microsoft. Microsoft recruited me as a Microsoft student partner.
Mhm.
This it's a program that doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. I was the first year of the program here in Portugal. I was the first official year of the program. Got recruited, loved being a Microsoft student partner, got to know a little bit of Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember this plugin that Microsoft had at the time called Silverlight. It
Mm-hmm.
was something like it's similar to Flash. I was a young expert that in that field here in Portugal, and I got recruited to build what at the time was like the Netflix of in Portugal. This is back in 2008, where Netflix only came to Portugal in 2000 and probably 2018
Wow, that's great.
probably. So
Uh-huh.
10 years later, I was 10 years before building it, and it had to have a media player. So I went to started really getting into media, and I was part of the team in Microsoft that was building that OTT
Mhm.
platform for Portugal. Microsoft ended up recruiting me. I went to London, always in tech, but AI stuck with me, and then became the AI ambassador here in Portugal for Microsoft.
Mhm.
So I think in a way, the path ended up somewhere near where I thought it would be in the beginning. Still not in games. Maybe one day. There's a friend of mine, Miguel Vicente. He's in the Xbox team. Sometimes he messaged me say, "There's a spot here for you. I'm waiting for you. There's a share here that has your name. You need to come." But haven't happened yet. But they're still young, still time, right?
Yeah, that's true. There is a lot of things to do in life. So, thank you so much for sharing, actually. And this is quite interesting to see that, how you started and how you end up being in the latest technologies as well, because technology trends keep on changing. So, it shows
Yeah.
your adaptability as well to learn the new skills and get expertise in that particular space, which is the important aspect, I guess, being in the technology field. So thank you so much for sharing that. And our next segment is more or like a questions from the audience, where
Mhm.
I have shortlisted a couple of questions for you. So the
Okay.
first question that we have is, it is like combination of two questions actually.
Mhm.
So how has integrating hybrid cloud been useful for Azure? What
Mhm.
major challenges do you see while moving big data solutions to cloud?
Okay. Okay. So yeah, it is a mesh of two questions. Hybrid, in particular, in my opinion, has been the biggest differentiator for Microsoft. So Microsoft Cloud is been betting in hybrid since the beginning, or very early on. I do believe that there are many workloads that will never go to the cloud. Things like live video AI workloads. It's not
Mhm.
never going to the cloud. It doesn't make sense to send high definition video of all the high definition cameras in a shopping mall to the cloud. The cost itself would be unbearable. It needs to be at the edge. Automatic driving or autonomous driving. It's something that the latency for real time
Mhm.
will always be big. You won't have a data center. You need to concentrate the data centers in well, you can have more and more, and Microsoft is launching more data centers every year, but it's not going to be in your street. But you need low latency to do many of these real-time data workflows and workloads. So you need real time, so you need the edge. You need the edge, so you need something that it will work in the cloud and on the edge, and you can train models and you can build things in the cloud, deploy them from the cloud to the edge. And this is edge computing and hybrid cloud at the works. And I remember being in the United States in our build conference back when they were still conferences in person
Okay.
4 or 5 years ago, seeing this as the strategy, as the vision for Microsoft. So I think hybrid was crucial, and then came the need for multi-cloud and customers to go into the multi-cloud world, because there's no single vendor that has all of the answers. So
Mhm.
you need also a hybrid with that. And you probably, there's a lot of workloads that if you pay for 24/7 your hardware, then a small data center for that will also make sense on-prem for the customers. So you need to have a control plane that manages everything. And this is Microsoft started building their own control plane as something agnostic of all the technologies that were there, all the clouds. So hybrid came in as well with Azure Arc and other management plane security, and all of these concerns are across the different layers. So I think it's been very useful for Azure to grow, and strategic for customers to look at Microsoft and the Azure cloud in a different way. So I'm very happy that we had this decision from the beginning, because I think it's the correct one. In terms of the big data solutions and how they can be moved to the cloud. So I think the biggest challenge, the answer is also a little bit of it depends, right? Depends on the workload and depends on the problem that is you're moving. But normally the biggest problem that I get is anonymization of data. So when you move to the cloud, you think about things like, okay, but it's going to leave my data center. Doesn't mean there's two points here. One is security. Normally, the cloud is more secure than you can get on your own data center, unless you're completely offline and you have like this physical perimeter of security in your data center, and you've like a Fort Knox type solution that you have there. Otherwise, the cloud will be more secure and more auditable, and you will be more secure your data than your on-prem. Still, it leaves your data center, so you need to anonymize. There's regulatory needs that you need to fulfill that you wouldn't even need to read those laws if you would be building on your own data center, because for most of them you're already compliant. You don't need to read the fine print. If you go to another data center, depending on the data that you're sending, there's some obstacles there and some legal obstacles that you need to overcome. The other thing is real-time processing. If you're doing real-time processing today and your big data has that infrastructure and needs to go to the cloud, then how are you going to real-time process in the cloud? Is the latency a problem? You need to do some decisions, some architecture decisions. But it's something that's been fairly studied. There's a lot of documentation that you can go through. The Microsoft, for instance, has a lot of cloud solution architects like myself that can help customers do this. So I think 5 years ago, it was a little bit tougher because we're still learning. Today, I think, depending on the strategy that you're following, there's a recipe that you can follow that's fairly tested, and there's not going to be many problems.
Yeah, hope this is useful to the audience as well, because a lot more buzzwords around, right? AI, data science, big data. And hopefully this answers their question. One more question we have is, what kind of a storage is best suited to handle unstructured data?
Okay. So that is for sure a depends answer. So the correct answer would be it depends on the data. So for instance, well, I come from a media background. So if my unstructured data is media files, then blob storage would be the best. You wouldn't put that because you want to stream that, you want to probably process that video data in an AI model or something like that. So blob storage in a table storage would be in a Azure storage would be the best suited for that type of data. For instance, if you're thinking about CSV files, then probably, and you want to process those CSV files, then you're probably in the big data type, data analytics and reporting types workflow. So you would put that probably in the data lake, structure that in dates and those files separated by dates, and then you could run workflows using Data Factory or Databricks to process them. So in terms of storage, and if it's a lot of data and a lot of CSV files, then I would say probably Data Lake would be a best option in terms of cost and in terms of architecture. But more generically, I've been doing a lot of work with Cosmos DB. So Cosmos DB allows you to have this unstructured data, but be able to create relationships between those unstructured data and have multiple APIs. Say you want to document DB, so you can have those JSON files and metadata all unstructured in your repository, but you want to create relationships between them and have a graph API on top, for instance. And you can have this dynamic way of approaching your unstructured data. This is very cool and very powerful, and the fact that it scales to basically whatever latency that you want in terms of read latency. So you can have gigabytes or terabytes of information and really be performant in the way that you access that data. If you're trying to build things like a huge catalog of customers and metadata for those customers and products and relate everything, and that's all in structured data as it comes in and events and stuff like that. Cosmos DB is very performant, very good, having good results with many customers and very complex architectures using Cosmos DB. It's not the data lake repository. It's a mix in between that's very good and agile. So yeah, depends, like I said, but there's a lot of options today. Remember the
that's true.
SQL base.
Actually, it's like a lot of platforms are competitive to each other. So it again depends upon what your business requires as well, and how much budget you are willing to spend on that particular thing. So a lot of
for
things
sure.
come along with when you think about implementing any solution to the cloud technologies. So thank you so much for sharing. And the next segment is moreover like our fun segment or the relaxation segment, where I'm going to give you like a 3 keywords associated with your profile or the career. And you have to just tell me whatever comes to your mind. It can be a replacement keyword, it can be an abstract definition, or after hearing all those 3 words, if you want to make anything creative out of it. So we are welcome to hear that as well.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Go for it, Lisha.
Yeah. So the first word that we have is digitalization.
Digitalization, I think transformation. So I think it's the biggest thing that's been happening in this last 5 years has been the transformation to digital. And what comes to mind is things like the way that we interact with public services today, medicine today, and all of those services became a lot more digital. Most of them, they were digital. I'm not talking paper to computers and email to letters. That's not that type of digital transformation. More like identities and the way that you and remoting, like we are doing today, is these things become the new normal, and this is transformation of the business. And I was so happy to see the last 5 years and the way that they did. The first thing is transformation.
Yeah, that is very true. And thank you so much for sharing that. Next keyword is podcast.
Forecast. Oh, I think reporting. It's a shame because the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm being honest and truthful with you, like in your exercise, is that a lot of my work still today is around forecasting, and I'm so happy that those reports now have a lot of AI. What I think about is all the reports that I need to study and in my day to day, and all the metrics and KPIs that before I needed to use Excel, and now I just think Power BI and reports and all the forecasting coming on those reports automatically. So happy.
Yeah. And then a third keyword that we have is future of AI.
Okay, future of AI. What I think about future of AI, I think things like AlphaGo, for instance, and all these big deep models, more than just machine learning, that are trying to do things. For instance, I'm missing the name of the technology. Giving me a blank. That GitHub just launched a AI model that can build code from text. For some reason, I can't remember the name of the technology just now, but we just launched it recently. And for me, this is the future. The future is you being able to communicate with the computer as naturally as you can, like we are doing now. And his understanding of what's the task to be done is more than just an input of parameters. Is more meta, is more high level. And for me, that's been the vision that I have for AI for a long time. I remember I was fresh out of uni, coming out of an engineering background, and I was the only Portuguese speaker in an event in Lisbon called UX, the first edition of UX Lisbon. So it's focused on user experience. And I remember doing a prediction at that time. looking back, and now I have a little bit more experience, and thinking I was so young and so naive to go into an event like that and say things like, I think in the next 10 years, like, who am I to say that? But the truth is, I still believe in what I said at that time. I still today would say that the future is natural language, and I think it's been proven. I was 2008, so that's almost 13 years ago. I was saying that natural interfaces weren't touch, and this was when touch interfaces and mobile and tablets are starting to come out, and I say this isn't natural because you don't have feedback. So touch for me is something that I can pick up my mug without looking at it, but I couldn't push a button to get me the mug without looking at it if there was a touch feedback. So I remember, for me, what's natural is saying, get me the mug. This is natural. And because this is what I would do if my girlfriend was here and I was saying, grab me that mug. She knows exactly what she needed to do, and she would get me that. I want to do this to a computer and say, get me that code, put me the file, get me in touch with Lisha. And it was just get me in touch with you, and it was just get the call set up and everything. So this for me is the future of AI. And I know that's near. I hope that is really near.
Yeah, so AI is definitely for making the world better. So yeah, we can take it that way. Moving towards our next segment, which is more about exploring your career, work, or volunteering.
Okay.
A lot of things actually. You host 2 podcasts, you do the volunteering as well. But just to keep it short, we are going to cover one question under this segment, which is, you worked as a digital advisor. So how was your work experience, and what were your roles and responsibilities under that role?
Okay, so digital advisor was the role that I left before becoming a cloud solution architect. I was a digital advisor for many years, 4, I think, or probably 5. So, basically that role evolved from the role called enterprise architect. So I came from solution architect to enterprise architect, then digital advisor. Digital advisor is basically a role that the main responsibility of a digital advisor is drive digital transformation in the customer. So a customer would, and this is just to give you a little context, this is inside the consulting business of Microsoft. So that means digital advisors are like consultants that you would, or an architect or a developer that you would get into a project to help you implement something. So a digital advisor has a digital advisory service called exactly that, digital advisory service, and a customer would hire, in this case, subcontract the digital advisor to help them in the digital transformation journey. So a digital advisor will build that journey based on technology, based on the business impact that the customer wants to get out of technology to build something. And I, in particular, my role, we had different industries and focused on the industries because a digital advisor must be industry focused. My role was very much into innovation. So I was basically doing stuff that would basically impact the customer's pipeline 4 years from now, 5 years from now. And I did this, and something that I'm very proud of is that I'm going to see most of my work and those ideas that I've been building now that I left my role and now became a cloud solution architect. I'm going to continue to see that impact for the next 4 or 5 years. That makes me very proud, but mostly I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun thinking about stuff that weren't there, designing the future of television interaction and live broadcasting and stuff like that. I was so happy. Most of the things, and now I'm also happy because now I'm not under an NDA for the new stuff that I do. But before, I couldn't publish, I couldn't talk about what I was doing because everything was under NDA. I was thinking, what's going to be the big differentiator for this company for 4 years from now? That means I can't write anything of what I'm doing in my day for the next 4 years because it's only going to be released in 4 years. So now I'm. That's the tough part of being a digital advisor. I think it's that especially in the innovation part, like I was doing. The cool part is it's so far ahead that it's so cool that you think, yeah, this makes all sense. It's going to take a long while to see it materialized in a product, but it makes a lot of sense, and then you get to see it being built, and like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought it's going to be.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so cool.
Yes, yes. That sounds really very pretty interesting role as well.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much for sharing. And we are moving towards little closure, and we have a segment which is more or like tips or advice. And in this segment, you can support your answer with books and courses for the students.
Okay.
So, any tips or advice would you like to give to the students or the professionals who are looking to get into this particular field, technology or the cloud computing, and are trying to grow in that particular area or looking this as their long-term career option?
Okay. So, yeah, for sure. First thing that comes to mind is do stuff today. So basically, I think hard skills in technology aren't like medicine. That's very hard for you to get those hard skills. You need to go to university to get the hard skills. Today, technology is very accessible in terms of online. You can learn. There's Microsoft Learn, for instance, has huge amount of online learning courses free that you can learn how to code, you can learn how to administer Azure, you want to learn machine learning, there's courses for that in Microsoft Learn and LinkedIn Learning and in all of these things. And there's other sites, plural sites, some of them are paid, but still very low entrance fee for knowledge in technology. Like when I say low, I say zero to none. So it's free, and you cannot say the same thing about other areas that you need the hard skills. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to university. Do your path. Go take an engineering course. I'm an engineer, so and I it changed my life, the way that I think, but still it didn't teach me how to program. If I wanted to learn how to program, I wouldn't go to the university. I went to the university to become an engineer, not to become a programmer. I would go to computer science course, not to become a programmer, become a real good technology scientist and do research on that. So depends on what you're doing. It's different paths. But today, if you're looking into this area, even if you're a veteran in another industry, go and take courses online and learn technology today. If you're a young person and like and you want to, and I would say young, if you're a kid, not a teenager, even if you're a kid, get involved in your community, find a problem that you want to solve and solve it with technology. Learn the skill by doing it. Find a volunteering institution that you could volunteer and build their website, build the way that they do business, help them develop the technology, and you'll learn doing. And with that, I would say, because in the interviews that I do, I normally ask a question, and still today, many people don't find that question very comfortable, because I ask, what do you do in your free time in terms of it's not what you did. I don't want to know the project that you did in your work because someone else thought about the project and made you do and you're paid to do. I want to know what projects did you did in technology with your own time. And many people say, there's nothing that, and then there's these times that people say, I built this code in GitHub and open source this and contributed to this community. And I see, when you talk with passion, that's the moment when those guys, they say, I contributed to this. I was so happy that this happened. And they're like, I see the passion there, and I see that you're committed, and I see that you love doing what you do. So it's not something that, because I did a lot of projects during my years that, I had to do because, customer needed it and I solved the problem. But there's a lot of other projects that I did that I loved and I was paid to do. But there's a lot of others that I decided to do just because I had fun. And you need to have fun in this area because it's a tough area. It's not. I normally sell this as something that, because I love it. People say, it's gonna be a lot of fun. You need to love this to be fun, because if you didn't love it, it's a pain, because there's a lot of math and there's a lot of studying. There's a lot of everything. It's not.
Yes.
Yeah.
So very valid points actually. You mentioned that when you're passionate or interested in something, definitely you find all the other opportunities to grow in that particular space, and you're always ready to take the challenges actually along the way. So even though like cloud computing is very hard, it's more or like a challenging field as well to be in. So that completely makes sense actually. You being in that field, and thank you so much for sharing this with the audience. And we have the last segment, which is moreover like a leadership.
Okay.
And no doubt that you are truly leading your area of expertise. So, what is your leadership style? And
Okay.
any specific leader that you always follow and admire, and why?
Okay. So I see myself more of a coach,
Uh huh.
um, a bit of a servant as well, to serve my team. I'm always looking for how to help the team, and well, I see myself also as a visionary leader. So I normally am the person that my teams look towards in terms of vision. So where should we go? What's the next thing? And in a meeting, typically when I'm in the meeting, people tend to look at me for those things. And I'll be honest, I love doing that as well. So it's something that I love. It's not something that I do because no one else can do it. I normally position myself also to do this. Um, I'm a bit of a pace setter as well, so I'm the guy that tries to push the team forward. So don't drop your arms. Just go fight a little bit more. We can do it. We can do it. We're able. Yeah, and probably a bit of a transformational leader. I try to build new things, not just innovation, to really impact and transform. I don't see myself as autocratic or bureaucracy person. I'm far from that. I hate that type of
That is
leadership.
not a leadership style at all, actually.
Command and control and stuff like that. But I can even share this. For many times I didn't have this. I saw leadership. I didn't see myself as a leader. I remember the book, reading the book from Seth Godin, Tribes, and really that opened the door in my mind to what the leader should be, because up to that point I think I thought leaders as the manager or command and control, the guy that controls your work or controls something. And I found that I didn't have that many role models as hierarchical leaders. And then I found a new leadership style, and then started looking for other mentors. And now I see leadership as a completely different way. You to be a true leader, you're there's something that you don't get to be. It's something that someone else nominates you to, as people recognize you as a leader in your community, and that makes you a leader. You don't want, I want to be a leader, so make me a leader. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't
So
happen. Yeah, that's
that's for me. And for things, and then I started looking at other leaders. You talked about role models. Well, Bill Gates and Satya were for sure role models in terms of vision and the way that they lead. They were completely different leaders, in my opinion.
yeah.
And they were what the Microsoft needed at that time, at that particular time, each of them. I was thinking about things, other people like Ilinia, she's the creator of AlexNet. Ilinia, I don't remember her last name, his last name. Sorry, Ilinia. He was the creator of AlexNet. And I remember the story. I don't remember his last name. Sorry, but I remember thinking about AlexNet was the first neural network, deep neural network architecture for convolutional neural networks. And at the time, he was building that from scratch. He was inspired to do that, and he didn't even know AI. You learned AI, got passionate about it in such a way that it changed the way that we do AI today. It didn't come from the person that was the most knowledgeable. He became knowledgeable through passion. And for me, that's inspiring. And sometimes I go to that point when I think about what should you be doing. I'm not the best guy to do this. Are you passionate about it? Yes, then you're the right person. You don't need to be the most skilled, because that you can get if you're passionate. And Ilya, he was amazing on that. And to that point, sometimes even today I was reading about this gold medalist from in the Tokyo Olympics. Anna, she's a bachelor in physics in math.
Uh-huh.
She's masters in math as well, PhD in philosophy for math,
Uh-huh.
and now she's an Olympic medalist as well. So I think you can do everything, right?
Yeah, you can do
Sometimes you need
everything.
this type of inspiration.
Yeah, such an inspiration. That is true. So thank you so much for sharing. And
You're
I
welcome.
definitely need to check about the Iliana. But this is really a very great style to have, and a couple of qualities that you mentioned, right? Having that vision or supporting or pushing your team.
Mhm.
And making them get out of their comfort zone. Those are like a required things, I guess, being a leader,
Mhm.
because you are trying to make more leaders and not just the followers. So
Yeah.
that's the important aspect of leadership, I feel. So thank you so much for sharing and being the
Thank you.
guest on Solid Saturday. This was really very insightful episode for me as well as the audience out there. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your invitation, Lisha. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much. Yeah, bye for now.
Bye.
All right, so this is all about Marco Silva and the way he's leading his area of interest, cloud computing and cloud technologies. And hope you learned some of the things from him and his career journey. Before we close, we are going to have a closure quote from Steve Ballmer, which is along the lines of, innovation and technology and everything. So the quote says, we can believe that we know where the world should go, but unless we are in touch with our customers, our model of the world can diverge from reality. There is no substitute for innovation, of course, but innovation is no substitute for being in touch either. So, on that quote, we are closing today's episode. See you guys in the next episode. Until we meet, happy leading. Let's lead together. Stay safe. Bye for now.